Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new Rocket Lab Weekly. The purpose of this show is to keep up with all the news on Rocket Lab so that you don't have to basically go anywhere else if you want to know what's happening with Rocket Lab Company. And I have basically a co-host with me, Scott here. Maybe Matt Farley is going to jump in, aka Matt Money to Zero. And we've had a bit of a turbulent week on the market. So how were you this week, Scott?
Not as bad as it could have been, I guess. Like I think that every once in a while, no matter what your investment style is, you're proven right. And I think that is in terms of like kind of what I do is more like a little bit of diversification. It didn't hit me quite as hard, but definitely feeling, for the the single stock players out there, like it's a pretty big downturn over the week. So feeling for you guys, and I think it's temporary, honestly, but we'll see. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, because of my cover calls, I'm also very, very well protected against this. So did really well. I mean, I felt it was due. Like we have only had. I started to see some tweets on Twitter that stocks only go up and certain stocks only go up, and I think a pullback was due, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but I don't see a lot of downside on the long term. I don't feel we're going into a bear market, so it's just a very, very healthy pullback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also, you mentioned the single stock people. I mean, I don't think that the Rocket Lab people and the Palantir people can complain, because it's like just I mean, Rocket Lab a few months ago was $5, and so what? We had a pullback from 30 to 25, and especially the Palantir people. I mean, Palantir is after a 20% drop back to where it was 2 weeks ago. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, after the past couple of years, I'm like, it would take a large drop off for me to start feeling bad about anything. So,
yeah, exactly. Curtis has it right. Shares are inventory. Don't look at the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And what's worse, I feel that we have the seasoned people who are with us on the long term, and we are like buying Rocket Lab on the dips when when things are undervalued, like we're going in and buying it. And if you go back, like those videos have like the least number, like when Rocket Lab is doing bad, like the viewership of the shows that we do goes down. And it's really like this meme, that when things are cheap, it's like very few people care, and then when the price runs up, then we have like the big audiences come in. But I guess it's just part of the game.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. Cool. So I was thinking, little housekeeping. We are going to go through the news that happened this weekend. It's going to be a very fast section because there was very little news this week, and then I think we should go over the earnings that is coming up in a few days, and we are going to embarrass ourselves and try to make predictions that will probably be wrong about the earnings. And that will be the weekly. So cool. We start off the news with the latest launch, which was the 60th launch for Rocket Lab customer Black Sky.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It was their sound, guys?
There was, yeah, for me, yeah.
It's funny. I just wanted the video to be on, and then just as a nice background, and just when you want that because normally my sound doesn't work.
The one time it works, yeah.
The one time you're like, okay, good, it's not going to work, then it works. So this is launch number 2 this quarter, and I think you put out a poll asking people which company do you think we will launch for. So what do you think is the next launch, and when do you think it is?
I'm leaning towards Aurora Tech, because that one's a bit of a wild card. Well, I mean, we are getting kind of close to the end of the month. We do know that we have Kines and I'm pretty sure IQPS are both March, and then Aurora Tech and hopefully still Hypersonics, which is our fourth haste mission. That's also supposed to be in Q1 as well. So could still be seeing a very busy quarter. So also thank you, Curtis, to see that.
So it's not lost yet, even
Right,
even though almost 2 months of the quarter is gone and we're only at 2 launches. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, the next one I had is also the successful deployment. I mean, let's just, because we're collecting the news for this week. So this was the 9th launch for Black Sky and Rocket Lab. I think Black Sky is one of the oldest customers to Rocket Lab, and they are they use other launch providers as well, but Rocket Lab is their most prolific launch provider, which is very interesting to see that. I guess they also use the other one is SpaceX that they use, if I'm guessing correctly.
Yes, and there was another launch. Well, we don't need to get into it, but yeah, so far it's just SpaceX and Rocket Lab.
Yeah. So it's just very interesting that it's a company that is using both, and yet they're still going ahead and writing more contracts with Rocket Lab. And this is one of the most frequently asked questions that we get when new people come into Rocket Lab, like, isn't SpaceX just going to squash them? And this is a very interesting real life example of how the two can coexist and still everybody can be happy. Yeah. All right. Then there was, I didn't see any other news with Rocket Lab this week. So it was very, I think it's the quietest week that we have had in did I miss anything, Scotto?
We did have what was it, the city conference that was earlier this week.
That's right.
And there wasn't like, I mean, we're so close to earnings right now that it's just like, of course, nothing's new is going to be announced, but kind of a similar sentiment that I shared last week. And I'm sure it's probably just more like PTSD of like the initial Neutron delay, where it's like, I think Adam used the terminology of like getting to pad in mid 2025. And I'm like, the whole, yeah, like just remembering how it went last time, where we're like, does that mean like on the pad or like leaving the pad? Because those are two very different things. So I'm really curious. I'm really curious to get that Neutron update on, I guess, Thursday of next week and see if they are still holding true, or if it is a bit of like a, like we're still aiming maybe, but pushing back sort of, kind of just, I don't know, just really curious to hear the tone, I guess, in terms of Neutron on the call.
Yeah, I mean, now we're jumping a little bit, but I like, one of my earnings prediction is that we're either going to get a watered down Neutron. So because it was like the goal is mid-year 2025 launching, so we either get a watering down or an outright delay of Neutron launch. That's my prediction from the earnings, because if you guys remember from our last interview with Sir Peter Beck, the rocket itself has to be, assembled on the launch pad for quite some time before we can launch. So it's not like Neutron is going to appear and 2 days later it's going to launch. I think it's going to be, around 2 to 3 months being tested on. That's also probably why Adam Spice is saying like we will get it to the pad, right? And so if in March, in 1 month, if we don't really see an assembled Neutron on the pad, then the chances of it launching in the summer starts to not increase. And for me, as a long-term Rocket Lab investor, I don't think it really means much, because I rather them do a good job and make sure that the rocket doesn't blow up on the pad. Like on the long term, it's going to be good for the company. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think I'd share your sentiment. Like I don't know, because we haven't seen anything yet. I think that it is going to be pushed back, but I don't think we're going to see a substantial pushback. Hopefully, but time will tell. I think we'll get a an update either way on the call.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, was there anything else? I mean, on this city conference, I think Adam Spice mentioned that he can't talk about the backlog, but it's good. For me, he seemed to imply that it's going well with the Electron backlog, and I think the wording he used is that the manifest can support comfortably over 20 launches next year.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
We know how that ended this year, so we know that even though you have the manifest, it can shuffle around and doesn't mean that you launch. So for me, if they would, I actually understand that they don't guide for the launches. I completely get the logic, but if they could say that the max number of launches we could do, like based on the customers in 2025, is 30, then we can be like, okay, comfortably we will land on the 20s, even if customers are late, right? Because we know that it's not going to be 100%. Like, would you be happy if they would communicate such a number, or are you okay with them just not guiding at all for
I think that, like, I think what we will get is just more of a range, like kind of just similar to what you mentioned, with Adam just mentioning, like, we're hoping to get over 20. And I think realistically we'll probably see like between 25 and 30 if all goes well. But yeah, I think they're really going to be a little more cautious in terms of forecasting after the past couple of years, and just falling short for whether it's a delay or whether it's that like crazy electrical issue that they had in September of 2023. Like they'll just be cautious on their guidance, and I think they'll just simply say like hoping for 20 or more is my bet.
Yeah. Well, all right. So there was one space news that you wanted to mention when we were talking before the show, and that is that Astra's
Firefly
Firefly has gotten a new investor relations person. I didn't know that. I saw the news, but I didn't know who the guy was before. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, he works for, I don't know if he's going to continue, but he's CNBC's space analyst. His name is Michael Sheets, and he's going to be the director of investor relations at Firefly. The reason I think this is important is I'm under the impression that Firefly is going to go public probably this year still. Because there's that information, and I mean, it's honestly, it's a good time with the valuations of all these space companies. It's not like even a year ago, Firefly was to come public, and try to aim for like a price to sales of what was average of like, what was Rocket Lab, like 5 at the time, between 5 and 10, versus now where it's like, launch companies are getting valuations of like Rocket Lab's 25 to 30 now. So I think it's just an optimal time, and it's kind of unsurprising. And that kind of paired with the CEO has been following a few retail investors lately. And I think that kind of is another, nod in the direction of going public and just kind of courting retail, so to speak. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Call me Curtis. Call me Curtis would invest in Firefly.
Oh, he would.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Because
apparently,
I know that Curtis and I were kind of like, the last CEO is not our favorite person, to put it politely. But I seem to like, I like this new CEO, and I think it's a new CFO as well. It is still a lot of that like word salad, so to speak. A lot of like, it's just that very like, I don't know. They're very like structured, I guess. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but like a Chris Kemp or an Elon Musk, you never know what to expect. They seem very like polished and professional. I think that's what Firefly needs. In terms of valuation for those interested, so it's, I don't know if it's supposed to be, well, whatever. I'll say that Firefly's revenue for 2024, and this is an expectation as of December, so they probably landed well within the range. There's we'll call it $110 million. And to kind of oversimplify, I'm willing to bet that Firefly goes public around the probably $3.25 billion mark is my best guess. And that's kind of based on what we were talking a minute ago with like the comparing it to a SpaceX or Rocket Lab valuation. They were valued at 2.3 billion. I think that was also in December, but I bet they get a bit of a premium just with the overall market rising. But they do have that Alpha 6 launch right away. And I'm willing to bet that, assuming all goes well, that they're going to announce shortly after, like, yeah, we're going to, the ball's rolling. Alpha 7's on the way. We got the moon lander coming in like what, not even 2 weeks. So a lot of good news is coming for Firefly. And that mixed with like the general positive market sentiment for space stocks again, I think it's time for Firefly to go public, and it'll probably happen this year. It's my best bet.
Wow, that is very interesting. So especially that Curtis would invest. I have a hard time. I mean, obviously, when they come out, they will do a new investor presentation. They will release what is the form called that you release when you IPO before this Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to blank.
Yeah, I'm also blank. I think it's something 6, no? Like okay, whatever. So we don't know what data they will have in there. I know that their niche is more in the instantaneous launch or responsive launch, so that they want to be able to. So it's not reusability. There was a very interesting video with Everyday Astronaut when he spoke with their engineers, and all their engineering is going into like, how can you launch insanely fast and within the least amount of time, and that's how they engineer all the materials. And it's not what's the most cost effective, not what's the most reusable, and I don't know how big the market is for that. And then maybe on the lunar economy and the lenders, and maybe that is a very profitable business, or maybe it has I don't know. I'm very curious. I'm definitely going to look at when they come out with their IPO prospectus, and yeah. But based on what I know, I don't know. I don't like that company so much. So I'm very curious. And even Curtis said that it's not for launch reasons. So he has other reasons.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So now let's go to this week's space drama. And that is Mr. Elon Musk went, I think he had a little bit of too little sleep. He was probably sleeping in the Doge government offices. And in this interview with Sean Hannity, he said that the astronauts were not brought back that are stuck in on the International Space Station. 2 astronauts, Butch and Sonny. And Andreas Morgensen, who is a Danish astronaut, said, "What a lie," and from someone who complains about lack of honesty from the mainstream media. And then Mr. Elon Musk answered this tweet by basically calling him an idiot and or retarded. And then someone else chimed in who happened to be or was Andreas Morgensen the head of the ISS space station?
I'm not sure. I think so. I know it was the commander of the ISS that he called retard.
Yeah. And then basically Elon then on the weekend was calling for retiring the International Space Station ASAP, and he doesn't think that there's more use for it, or just very incremental use for it, and he would like to see it retired and all attention focused on Mars. And now that is the talk of the town. What happened with this? So what's your thoughts on this, Mr. Scott?
I mean, I'm sure Elon probably could have been a little bit more diplomatic in his phrasing, but I mean, I do understand his frustration, especially like the type of pushback. I don't know. There's so many angles you could take to this, but like, I think probably what rubbed him the wrong way is being called out for it. Like, because I think the whole headline was like criticism that he called it a political move, but it's kind of is in my approximation. I mean, maybe not maybe not, I don't know, maybe not so much in terms of like seeing it as like red versus blue or left versus right, but in terms of like, I don't know, money exchanging hands and rubbing shoulders with the right people. It's just kind of like, I don't know, it's hard not to be cynical about the situation. And I know we've brought it up on the podcast earlier before, like with and I don't know, maybe the two astronauts are having the time of their lives up there, but I don't know, just I don't know, like pick your favorite hobby. And it's like, if you were told like you can do like hunting, for example, if I was told like, okay, you're going to go on a hunting trip with your friends, you're gone for 8 days, it's going to be an awesome time. Sweet. But fast forward, like, and you're still out in the woods, like nearly a year later, I'm probably not going to like hunting quite as much. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I hope they're doing well. And like I said previously, I hope that when they come back, we just have an unfiltered interview of like what they were told up there. Like, I'm sure it's going through their heads too. Like, yeah, okay, like forget Boeing. What's going on with SpaceX? And to pretend that that it's not some sort of political thing. I mean, just simply look at the money that exchanged hands during the Biden administration. It's 10 million compared to 53 million. That's a 5.5x difference. And to act like that kind of money doesn't have an influence on the decisions that are being made.
Which money are you talking about specifically now?
Well, I mean, the average person would call it lobbying, but like in different terms, it's bribery. Like to send money to have decisions made on your behalf. I mean, like, let's call it what it is, right? And I mean, this is a clear case of it. Like, why? I don't understand how after this long, SpaceX hasn't already gone up there and brought them back home. It's insanity. It's bureaucracy at its finest. And I'm just glad that change is happening the way it is, because it's absurd to think that we're still in this situation, that those astronauts are still up there. It's borderline inhumane. And like I said, I hope they're doing well. Hope they're having an awesome time, but maybe they're losing their minds. You know, like I know I would be. If I say bye to my wife and daughter and like, I'll see you guys in 8 days, and then I come back and I've lost a year of my life with them, I'd be in a not so positive headspace, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, I actually thought about it and I was like, okay, because like if it costs 200 million to bring them back, right? And then there is like anyways a scheduled flight there that could bring them back. I'm like, okay, I get, because, you know, otherwise you would end up on the Doge list, you know, that it's like, okay, we got the, like there was these 2 astronauts there and we wanted them home like 5 months earlier and it was costing 200 million, you know? But Elon, like, I mean, obviously we're not privy to all the details, because Elon made a comment that they never even discussed the money and he would have made it work. Like, so maybe he had something in mind that wouldn't have cost any extra money and he just would have brought the people home. I don't know how. And yeah, then I understand. Let's see. Dave Huntsman is chiming in. He's usually quite good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Bullshit. It's not absurd. Jesus, guys. I was a senior executive in NASA for 9 years as part of my 46-year NASA career and was in charge of designing the space station in the early days. You are so... Okay. You have to wait for it.
Where's part 2?
Cliffhanger.
Dave, I hope Dave's right. Like I said, I hope that they're having an awesome time up there. But like I said, I think it's just the premise too. Like, if they knew that they were going to be up there for a year, okay. But if you're, you know, like saying goodbye to your wife and I'll see you in 8 days, and then you're there for a year.
Yeah, it's just like, I saw a tweet somewhere where it's like, you know, these astronauts, they train their whole life to be in space. That's their dream, to be in space. And then now they're like stuck in space, like, oh, let's all feel sorry for them. It's like, yeah, Dave Huntsman is saying, I would have made the same damn decision NASA has made if I was in charge. Honest. Yeah.
Call me Curtis says, Dave, you're fired.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to judge, because I think if it would have cost 200 million to bring them back like a few months earlier, I would be like, look, they're professionals, they signed up for this, you know, they could have died on the trip. Like they even signed up to that, you know, like, yeah, it was an experimental spaceship. They could have died on the trip, and they're still coming home, you know, safe and sound. It just takes a bit longer, and the nation saves 200 million. The only way where I would be like, yeah, it's not okay, is if Elon could have just brought them home like for free, or I don't know how he would. Yeah,
that's fair.
Okay, cool. So now let's get into Rocket Lab earnings and predictions, and yeah. So I think, so let's put it in the chat. What do you guys think the stock is going to do after earnings? And by the way, it's just a few pointers before you do the poll, and then I ask you also, Scott, what do you think is going to do? So a few months ago we were at $4. So normally it's not so good when the stock runs insane into earnings. But you can't really say that Rocket Lab ran insane into earnings, because just a few weeks ago we were $30. I think the $30 in the long term, Rocket Lab is going to be worth a lot more. But I think where Rocket Lab is currently is a bit of a stretched valuation. So this is pointer number one. And then pointer number two is the quarter is going to be a blowout quarter. That's basically guaranteed. So I think revenue is going to grow over 100%. It was the most ever launches. I think their space systems was going to do like, so this quarter is amazing in every term, and in every possible way, and everybody knows it. So the question is the guidance that they give, because if Neutron is delayed and Electron is not really increasing in numbers, again, the guidance, and space systems doesn't get new contracts, then we are not going to have 100% growth rates going into 2025. So with all this caveat, please put your thoughts into the chat, and I give the word over to you, Scott. Like, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know that the current quarter that we're in is going to matter so much. Like, I think it's kind of like we already know exactly what to expect. Rocket Lab's pretty consistent in terms of hitting their top line, and honestly, the bottom line doesn't really matter so much currently. But I think if Neutron's on track, we're going to get we're going to, I don't know, maybe reclaim 30. And I think we're going to go complete opposite if there's even a slight delay.
I honestly think that one thing that could save the Neutron delay is if they announce Neutron contracts. And in the recent conferences that I listened to, there it seemed to be like Adam Spice was talking about that they are speaking to like customers that want multiple launch agreements. So there's a chance. I think that would totally save the day. So if they say like, guys, we signed 4 more Neutron launches, but we're a bit delayed, a few months delayed, I think we rally. But if it's no new contracts and just Neutron is delayed, I don't think that is.
Yeah, it definitely seemed in that TD conference. It definitely seems like they're at least in I mean, it's no surprise, but in talks with another customer besides the one that was already announced. But I mean, they've got to have some announcement up the sleeves, because they haven't announced, besides the Aurora Tech, that launch that's happening hopefully any day. They haven't announced any new contracts throughout the quarter, which is a little unusual. I mean, they did announce the 2 Neutron, that 2 launch Neutron deal that would have landed in Q4, but we already knew that. But there's been no announcements for anything outside of that, like thinking Electron related, and there's been nothing announced that is related to space systems. So, I mean, they've got something up their sleeve. It's fair to assume.
Yeah, I also think so. As far as the numbers, I don't know how like I can share my numbers, and you have a much better table than I do. But these are my predictions. I think that we're going to have 48 million in launch revenue, 82 million in space systems revenue. And you can see, this is what I'm talking about, that the last 3 quarters, Space Systems is not really going up. Like it's 76.9 million, 82 million, and then 82 million. And for Electron to increase from this, we need, because Neutron is not online yet, this is 6 launches in Q4. And it basically means that we need to, like, to have a meaningful increase, we need to start launching like 9 per quarter or 10 per quarter. And I don't see that in the lineup, right? So this crazy growth that we have had last year, that we were growing 68%, 71%, 53%, and now probably 116%, is unless there is a major announcement, it probably disappoints the analysts or the people.
Yeah, and my numbers are like similar to yours. I'm a little bit lower for launch revenue and a little higher for Space Systems. I'm at 42 and 88 respectively.
Yeah. And then we can see here, I have like the adjusted EBITDA that is still negative, and it was very nicely trending up. And then, yeah, because of the Neutron, we're like trending back down to a little bit. Obviously, one key milestone, which we know is only going to happen after Neutron, is being adjusted EBITDA positive. Yeah, but the total revenue is in a super nice chart. And let me see, adjusted EBITDA margin. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is basically the numbers that they have reported. One thing that is amazing is their share dilution is 2.42% per year. And I think in my models for Rocket Lab, I've been counting with 3% share dilution. And I'm very positively surprised of how little they are diluting the shareholders. I think Palantir, for example, is diluting shareholders by 7%. So it's that's a lot. That's it's not something I like about Palantir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So numbers wise, do you want to share your predictions? Like, what do you think is going to come out of earnings, and then maybe we can predict a little bit of price action. For Curtis' sake, I hope we're over 29 after earnings.
Mm-hmm. So for the numbers, are you looking in terms of like adjusted EBITDA and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, if you have anything you want to share for the earnings.
Mm.
I mean, you shared the revenue like for Space Systems and what do you call it? The launch side of the business.
I mean, it's more or less on pace with yours. They're guiding for negative 27 to 29 million loss for adjusted EBITDA. I think that they'll probably come a little bit above that. They're usually a little more conservative with their adjusted EBITDA guidance. But like I kind of mentioned, it's not so much about the current quarter, I don't think, than more so to do with the backlog.
Oh yeah,
I think that's going to be the real trendsetter for the next little bit. And also, like I've been like messaging in the chat. Apparently, Globalstar has moved their earnings date to be on the same date as Rocket Labs. I thought it was just so happened to like set it for the same time, but it sounds like Globalstar actually adjusted theirs to be on the same date as Rocket Lab. I don't know if there's anything to glean there, but interesting.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, that is pretty interesting.
So I mean, maybe there's some announcement there. I know there's a bit of drama with Rocket Lab and MDA, but maybe this is part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that is very interesting, right? Because if Rocket Lab announces something that has to do with the Globalstar and the investors at Globalstar, then it's maybe better that they both, or maybe legally they have to both do it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to see. So I actually agree with you that I think for me the most important outcome of the earnings call that I want is obviously Neutron updates, I think getting Neutron contracts would be extremely bullish, but the backlog, because Adam Spice mentioned in conferences that he wants to get the backlog to 2 billion. And unfortunately, I think that to reach the 2 billion is not going to be on Electron contracts or small space systems contracts. So I think it will be on multiple Neutron deals, and it will be on huge government contracts, which we will know the minute it's announced that they win it. It will not be a surprise on earnings, but let's see. I hope I'm right, but or I hope I'm wrong. Sorry. Do you think that there's like a potential that they surprise us that the backlog is like 1.3 million instead of 1 billion?
I mean, maybe. I'm not sure what would exactly push that. I know there's been some talk with South, like SpongeRob mentions South Korean officials that are in New Zealand currently. So I don't know if that's like, I don't know if that's, what was that one? Case, I think. I don't know if that's like an expansion of that or what that even could be. But I mean, if it's anything like that, this Inspective deal, that was just like a large bulk order that kind of came out of nowhere. So it'd be nice to have something like that. But I mean, even if it's not right away here, there's so much coming down the line, like the NSSL contract for Neutron, the tranche, what is it, tranche 3 awards coming in Q2 or Q3. I think Jacob even put a date to it of October 1st. So I mean, there's whether it's on this earnings or we haven't even talked about haste, right? There was that very large potential like agreement, whatever you want to call, with Kratos. So I don't know if they're going to announce that or if anything is kind of definitive quite yet, or if it's a little too early. But that was like a $1.5 billion program, and within there's only 2 launchers really, like Rocket Lab and Strato launch. Like, I mean, somebody's going to launch.
That can be a surprise.
Lockheed Martin, I guess, could be a potential, and that was another weird part about it is Lockheed, I think, outside of that was like, oh yeah, and we can launch for them too, or we're partner too. But it was strange that they weren't actually mentioned in the press release. So I'm not sure if that was like an afterthought or what exactly.
Yeah. Okay, then let's put it this way. Let's go through different scenarios and also the chat and you, like, what would you do? So let's say we have earnings and Rocket Lab shoots to 30-35. Would you buy more shares of Rocket Lab? Would you hold? Would you sell? What would your viewpoint be?
Mm-hmm. I'd probably just hold. I mean, I think if it shot up that high, it'd be on some big news, right? So it would be, I don't know what kind of announcement it would take it there, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, stranger things have happened though. And like the that's Inspective announcement. It was like I can't remember what the amount for the deal would have been, but the amount that the market cap moved on that next day, it was like, well, that's the entire contract is now baked in already. So strange things happen. It's odd to predict, or hard to predict, I should say.
Okay, and now let's go into the flip side. So let's say we crash down to 20 or 15. What do you do then? And also the chat. What do you do then?
I mean, I'll probably start buying again. Because I mean, I trimmed a bit at there's a rate around 30. So if those shares come back, then great, and if not, there's other things. There's other companies that I'm looking at as well. So I wouldn't be mad adding Rocket Lab. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's funny because I think that if we would crash down to 20, that would be a very hard deal to pass on. To 15. 20 is quite a good deal, but I mean, like, if we crash down to 15, that is a very, very, very good deal. I can see that. Like, if I summarize the chat, then if we go up, people would hold, they would not add, but a lot of people, like, if we go down, a lot of people would add. And I really like Curtis's strategy because it seems like where did he write it? That if we go up, then he wins on the calls, and then if we crash down to 20, then he has he can tax loss harvest. So
Mhm.
it's like heads you win, tails no, heads you lose, tails I win situation for Call Me Curtis. Yeah.
What do you think it would take to crash to 15?
To be honest, okay, a super good question. So I made this prediction in the beginning of the year that it might be that Rocket Lab goes down to 15, but it will not be because of Rocket Lab. So it could be that there is macro things that happen. So because I think the company is doing amazing, right? Like, even if there is a delay with Neutron, they will have just had an amazing quarter, you know, that they report. So I think that the company is doing amazing. But if, you know, there's tariff fears, geopolitical things that can come up. I saw on Twitter that there's like a new COVID virus in China. You know,
Are we allowed to say it's from China this time?
I guess I haven't been banned yet. Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting because I was actually thinking about it the other day that, like, I feel so, like, I feel like things are very frothy in the market, but I'm like, but yeah, but I feel that the things that are happening in the US, and, you know, like, it looks like there's going to be a peace agreement in Ukraine. You know, the Middle East scene is like being like is going okay. You know, like, it looks like Iran is really like weakened, and, you know, so that it looks like there is focus on peace and geopolitical stability. You know, Doge is like cutting government waste, and you know, if the deficit gets fixed and inflation gets fixed, you know, like, there's good times ahead, even if it's maybe, you know, the big cuts like don't feel right, or maybe like it does hurt some people, but on the long term, it's like going to the gym, you know, like, it's not always nice being in the gym, but like, after, you know, when you're doing it for months, it's like you're really happy that you did it, you know. And then I was like, okay, so I don't really feel like there's anything on the horizon that really can get the market down. And then I was like, okay, but all the crashes that have happened, you never saw it coming, you know, like, did you see the COVID crash coming, you know, or in 2018 there was you know, that the Fed started raising the interest rates, and you know, Trump had this fight with the Fed, and then, you know, the market crashed. And I'm like, yeah, you just have to accept that you cannot time the market, and when the valuations are frothy, even if you buy and it keeps going up, you are still taking this risk that you're buying at a premium, and if anything happens, then, you know, you're going to crash a lot. And if that's okay with you, that's fine. You know, if your stomach cannot handle it, then maybe, you know, you ease off a little bit on buying, and maybe you just hold your positions.
For sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I couldn't predict that Rocket Lab would, like, this question that you asked, such a good question, because what made it crash to $3? Like, it was a completely, no one thought that it would be $3, right? But then I didn't think we would be at $30, you know, like where we are. Yeah. So
No, not at all.
So yeah, we can't predict the stock. Cool. Yeah, you know, somebody is making a point about, yeah, like, they can also announce a capital raise, you know, that could get the stock down like 20-30% instantly.
I don't think they'll do that quite yet, though, because I think that what did Adam mention, that if their cash is currently like 500-600 range, and that they'll wait until it's in the $300 million range before they're doing any sort of raise. I mean, of course, they could do it sooner because, like you're saying, the markets are frothy. But where am I looking? I mean, yeah, maybe middle. Honestly, maybe like what I'm seeing is they'll hit that like $300 million mark, assuming they have the continued burn rate that they're currently on. They would that result in like a raise, I guess, middle of the year. So I mean, maybe they do raise. So.
And you see, here's another question. If they know that they need to raise at 300 million, it's not like oh, we raise, and then 2 days later you have the raise. It's like something that you plan months ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And most probably, how do you call it? Like most probably that they will react on the best deal that they get, meaning that they will not wait. We can mathematically calculate that July 15th is the day, when they would hit below the 300 million. Like you could probably calculate this, but it's probably not when they're going to announce. I think just out of the blue they're going to announce something, and that hopefully you have put options for that day.
Mm-hmm. And like honestly, I bet that they don't wait till they're under 300 because they're telegraphing it. Like because as soon as us as like investors who have our finger on that pulse, the moment we see that 300, we're going to be like, oh, pull out, and it's going to cause a big sell off, and then
Exactly.
they won't be able to raise to the degree that they otherwise could have. So maybe they're not. I don't think they're going to wait until they're under 300. Probably do it much earlier.
Yeah. Totally agree with you. All right. So if I want to summarize it, it feels like the chat and everyone feels like this earnings could go either way. And if it goes down, it looks like a lot of you are going to add to the position. If it goes up, Curtis is going to be a very happy man. And it's what we are watching is the backlog numbers, Neutron delay, Neutron contracts, and next year's manifest for Electron, and next year's guidance. That's a short TLDR summary.
Yeah, plenty to look forward to, that's for sure. It's going to be an exciting week.
Cool. Well, I think that was it for this week. We went through everything, unless someone in the audience has any questions that they want answered, or if you have anything else to say, then we end here.
No, I think that's about it. Yeah, looking forward to. Are you streaming earnings? Do you have a plan yet?
I want to stream earnings. I have a project where I have to finish 8 Airbnbs with my a friend. Like it's 8 of our Airbnbs, and I've been like last week. Every day I was working 13 hours, and it's been very hard to keep up with things. And I think I will be able to make it to stream earnings. Like I would say it's 85%. And but if I'm needed, I don't want to let my friend down and have him work alone in the middle of the night. And
that's fair. Yeah. Okay, well, keep me posted, and go from there.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Thank you for being here, and see you hopefully on earnings. All right, ciao, everyone.